If you're a travel filmmaker yourself or you're aspiring to be one, you know how important and crucial it is to keep your backpack and gear as light as possible without actually sacrificing the quality of your work. That's why we're going to talk about the 3 best camera lenses for travel filmmaking today. And honestly, these 3 lenses are all you need. I personally use it for either shooting landscapes or for videos with subjects in it because it gives it this really nice and unique compression in the background, which makes it so nice. But it's also nice for wildlife or shooting surfing. Most lens manufacturers have a f2.8 version and a f4 version on the market, and when it comes down to deciding if you should spend an extra 1000 euros on a f2.8 version instead of a f4, it simply comes down to your needs. But in my opinion, if it's all about the background blur and the bokeh, a f4 version is mostly enough because honestly, due to the focal length, the background compression is super high even with an f4 version. But the f2 version gives you a nice extra stop of light or few stops of light if you're shooting or finding yourself often in low light situations. But nevertheless, in both cases, both lenses, the f2.8 and the f4, have optical stabilization, which in my opinion is super crucial, especially when you're talking about a 70 to 200mm lens. Coming from the longer to the shorter focal length, we're speaking about the 16 to 35 f2.8 or f4, but if you have the option, I would always try to go for the 1635 f2.8. This lens is incredible and is great for shooting behind the scenes videos, vlogging, or even taking some really unique and creative looking pictures with the 16mm focal length. But with the 24 to 35, it's a very nice focal length for actually capturing some cinematic B-roll. And the good thing about the 16 to 35mm compared to the 24 to 70mm, that most of them actually have stabilization built in, which paired with the IBIS of your camera makes a great deal for actually filming and shooting handheld. The last of the 3 lenses, and definitely my most favorite lens and the most used by far, is the 24 to 70mm f2.8. This lens is a beast, and if I would have to travel and only be able to take one lens with me, it would be this one, because it's simply super versatile. With the 24mm you can get some really nice wide shots, and with the 35 to 50mm it's perfect for portraits or any videos involved with some subjects or with people in it, because the 35 to 50mm is the most natural and most pleasing to the human eye. And the 70mm also already goes towards this telephoto lens, which gives me sometimes these really unique compressions in the background, which can be very nice and pleasing and also very important for getting some detailed shots. The only thing I don't like about this lens is that compared, like I said already, to the 16 to 35mm lens, it doesn't have built-in stabilization in it. But I think that is more of a problem for actually Sony users, because if I'm not mistaken, Canon has built-in stabilization in its 24 to 70mm version. But for most lens manufacturers, 24 to 70mm lenses don't have stabilization, which unfortunately is the only downfall if you're shooting handheld. If you're wondering why there are no prime lenses on this list, it's not because that I don't like prime lenses myself. I actually in fact love shooting with primes and think that the look that you get out of it is super unique and very pleasing. But I try to keep my backpack as light as possible, and considering that I only have to bring 3 lenses to cover a focal length from 16 to 200mm, which enables me to get such a high shot variety, which ends up making my videos so much better, I'm definitely gonna opt for the zoom lenses instead of carrying a lot of prime lenses with me. But with that being said, I also feel like the f2.8 of most zoom lenses most of the time is more than enough, and the f1.4 and f1.8 can often be overpowering. If you're wondering what other tools you're gonna need to create some really unique and stunning travel films, make sure to check out this video for a full breakdown and full guide of what gear to use when and why.